It's starting and it's live. So, hey everybody, this is Grady and Christy. We're getting ready to start the podcast for you guys to talk about the lesson, but we just want to take a few moments here so that everyone has a chance to join on. We like to do the YouTube video live so people can join on. How was your day, honey?
You know, it was great. We got some sick kids at home, but we're making do. And we had scouts today, and that went awesome. So, pretty good times.
Scouts today?
Mm-hmm. Story of my life, pretty much.
Good, yeah. And it was, same as always for me, but, we're a little bit behind, so we want to make sure that we got this episode out for you guys really quickly. With Valentine's Day yesterday and those things, it kind of puts us a little bit behind, but we want to give you guys a chance to get these lessons. So we got this one ready for you, and we're going to go ahead and start recording the audio, and then we'll get this lesson underway. Thanks for joining us, guys. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Third Hour of Power. This is Grady of This Mormon Life, and with me this week is my lovely wife, Christy, of Our Crazy Adventure.
Thanks for having me and inviting me.
Thanks for being here. So this week we're talking about Chapter 4, which is the pioneer heritage of faith and sacrifice. Honey, why don't you start us out with this lesson today?
So the lesson starts with President Hinckley talking about an experience at the temple. Always uplifting. Pretty much everything from this lesson I wanted to share. It was an awesome lesson. Everything was really great.
It was really hard to
really
pick
good.
A few.
But I loved he was sitting there and he was reflecting on the life of his father and his grandfather. And then he was thinking about his daughter and granddaughter. I think they were maybe even near him at this time. And he says, in that sacred and hallowed house were passed through my mind the sense of tremendous obligation that was mine to pass on all that I had received as an inheritance from my forebears to the generations who have now come after me. And I love that. Family history side of connecting family members. I once heard a quote, what if the only thing your children knew about the gospel was what you told them? I thought that's powerful. How am I doing at sharing my testimony? Have I shared all the experiences that I wanted with my children? Am I reading and bearing testimony enough? Just the importance of family history, but also the gospel. How am I helping my children to be able to connect and bring the hearts of the children to their fathers and fathers to the children? Am I helping them to learn about their ancestors? Am I helping them to learn about the gospel of Jesus Christ and to be able to carry on that tradition of our faith in Jesus Christ?
Yeah, and this lesson really does a good job of setting the tone of our ancient pioneers. Not ancient, but our modern-day pioneers.
Yes, it does too.
Latter-day pioneers.
Yeah, that's it.
Latter-day pioneers. We'll use that phrase because we're supposed to be modern-day pioneers, right?
I think so, yeah.
We'll get to that later in the lesson. But latter-day pioneers, the hardships that they went to, and that the early saints had been removed from place after place. And there's a painting that they use in the episode that I love, and it's this beautiful scene. And when I mean beautiful, I mean like beautifully heartbreaking, of the saints, ferrying across the Missouri River, and with mobs on the shoreline behind them, torches burning, and up on the hilltop is the Nauvoo Temple in flames. And just how heartbreaking it must have been for those saints to spend all that time to just be kicked out of place after place, finally inheriting a swamp and putting forth all that effort to make that swamp beautiful.
And sacrifice to make that temple,
Yeah.
Huge sacrifice.
And then have to walk away and face the wilderness. People died trying to get to the Salt Lake Valley. People died in winter quarters before they even set out. And so it's important for us to realize the sacrifice that these early saints made. It says here in the lesson that persecution soon followed with profane, murderous mobs. Their prophet was killed. Their dreams were shattered. Again, it was by faith that they pulled themselves together under the pattern he had previously drawn and organized themselves for another exodus.
And I like that. I like how in this first part of the lesson it talks about faith and how faith was so crucial to getting them through their trials. And I kind of thought as I was reading it, like, okay, how does this apply to me? What a blessing it is that we have faith, and are we using our faith? But when we have hard trials, when things come into our life, whatever they are, medical or financial or any kind of other trial we can have, is faith helping us get through this and having that optimism the pioneers did as President Hinckley to deal with the sufferings on this earth.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think that, comparing our trials to the pioneers. Now, I know that our trials are different than the pioneers. And
Mhm.
and for me, like, I would say, like, I couldn't make it through the pioneers. I would have been still in New York saying, bye guys, have fun in Ohio.
I get a little hangry, so it'd be a little bit hard to be hungry and still to be positive and kind, and that would be a hard thing for me.
Yeah, but at the same time, I wonder if they think, you know what, I couldn't live in a day where my kids had pornography available on their phones at a moment's notice, at a moment's glance. You know, I couldn't live in a day where
There's human trafficking and horribleness all over the place. You know?
And where, you know, common decency and, you know, a world where, you know, in that day, a lot of the morals that Latter-day Saints espouse were culturally acceptable. Now, of course, there were people that did bad things. You know, there's people that made them that sinned and made mistakes. But you know, we live today where much of wicked behavior is thought of as okay,
it's
and
fine. It's normal.
It's a personal choice, and you're an adult, so it's okay. You can choose what you want. And so there are other trials that we have, and I can't say which one's harder. For me, I would say the pioneer side is, but maybe they said the same thing for us when they look at our day and say, I couldn't make it. I'm so glad I only had to push a handcart.
I love how he encourages us with his zeal and his love for the gospel and how hardworking he is. And he says we cannot slow down. We cannot slacken our pace or shorten our stride. And just the idea of we need to move this work forward. We need to keep having faith. And I love that. Just his call to not repent, but to keep working. Because, man, he was nonstop.
Yeah, in section 3, it talks particularly about the Martin and Willie Handcart companies and the trial that they went through. Now, if you're a teacher that's listening, I would highly recommend you find a YouTube video or if you have an old VHS of President Hinckley telling this story of the saints as they were going through on the handcarts, and I love it, and I won't ruin it because he tells it so much better than I do. But I just love the idea that here are these saints who were stranded, and President Young says, you know, we need to cancel the conference and we need to go to them. I'll put the YouTube link for that video. I found one. I'll put it in the show notes. Just go to this-woman-life and look at the show or the podcast blog post that goes along with this podcast, and I'll have a link for that video for you. But I love what President Young says. He says, I will tell you that your faith, religion, and profession of religion will never save one soul of you in the celestial kingdom of our God unless you carry out just such principles as I am teaching you. Go and bring those people now on the plains. You know, just this idea of not just having faith and enjoying a belief, but having faith in going out and doing those hard things. Those saints, you know, they were comfortable in their homes that they'd built, and now they had to go and also brave the storm to go to the rescue. And many people went out for a little bit, couldn't find anyone, and went home. They said, you know what? They're not here. We're taking off. We did what we were supposed to do. But there were those who were stalwart that said, no, I'm supposed to bring them home, and I'm going to stay. And there's some great recountings of that. I loved Ephraim's Rescue, which is a movie that came out a couple years ago about the team that went to go rescue those handcart pioneers. And
what angels they were. Totally God-sent angels who were huge blessings. I also love that quote too. I love it. I love the power and just the part, go and bring those now on the plains. And I just think, again, too, who can we go out and get, right? Who's it that needs rescuing now? I know President Monson's really good about, you know,
to the rescue.
That's his thing, and I love that. But just where can we go and reach out those? You know, I'm a Cub Scout leader. Do I have Cub Scouts? Are there people in your quorum? Are there neighbors of yours? Are there family members? Who can you go and just bring them to safety and help encourage them to find peace and happiness?
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about just this idea of connections, and I'll probably have a full blog post on it in a couple weeks here. But just this idea as we're going out to the rescue is that before we can really rescue someone, we have to love them. We have to get to know them. As I work with my Deacons Quorum, we've got 2 young men who aren't active at all in our quorum. And I'm trying to find ways for them to really get to know these young men and to love them. And, you know, we talk about them in presidency meeting and like, yeah, we need to invite them. I said, do any of you even know who they are? And they're kind of like, no. And I said, well, before you can invite them to church, you need to become their friends and get to know them. I mean, you need to love them. Because if you just invited them to come to church out of a sense of obligation of duty, that's not how this works. You need to go out and you need to get to know those saints. So those people that you have stewardship over, that you serve, that you home teach or visit teach, the first thing you need to do is connect and find ways to have real relationships with them. And that's how you can help them find the blessings of the gospel again. That's how you can invite them back in and have them say, yes, I want to go with you because I love you and you love me and we're friends. And I know that you wouldn't invite me to do this unless you knew it was going to help me.
And when your motivation's love, it just makes everything easier. It's not offensive. It's not hurting anyone's feelings. You don't have to worry. It's just you love them and you care about them. And whatever they choose is their choice, but you just love them the way the Savior would.
Yeah. And that's the big thing, too, is that if they say no, that shouldn't change your relationship.
No, you still love them.
Still reach out to be their friend.
Absolutely.
Sometimes
absolutely.
People have weird ideas and they do things that are silly. And so I just want to make sure I just say that now. Just because you invite someone to church and they say no, doesn't mean you can't be their friend anymore, or that you should give up on them. Because if you love them, you'll never give up.
No.
You may ask in different ways, or you might wait to invite at a better time when you feel like it'd be more receptive. But, continue on being their friend. And
we love everyone no matter what they believe. That's the idea. I like how it talks about, too, the stories of their rescue need to be repeated again and again. Sometimes I think, especially as a youth, sometimes it's like, why are we learning about pioneers? It was so long ago. We have to keep hearing about it. But just the idea of we need to hear these things over and over again. These things, build up our spirit and help us to feel the Spirit and help us to have the faith that we need to work towards our inheritance.
Yeah, I love in this lesson it talks about just that the pioneer history isn't just the history of those who are descendants of the pioneers.
Mm-hmm.
President Hinckley says that whether you are of pioneer ancestry or came into the church only yesterday.
Which, by the way, welcome if you came yesterday.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
But you are part of this whole grand picture of those men and women, of which those men and women dreamed. When they went through these trials and these hardships to come and find a community where they can believe and they can help spread the gospel. Part of it, I'm sure, was for their own descendants, but it wasn't just that. It was for everyone who would find their ways to the house of God, to Jesus Christ Church, and to find that sense of community and love, and that saving power that comes only through the restored Church of Jesus Christ. And I just think, if you are someone who's a child of the pioneers, like we're both descendants of pioneers, wonderful.
Actually,
you are.
I am, but I'm also my own pioneer because I'm a convert. So again, that beginning story, like over time, my pioneer ancestors stopped going to church, and it got to the point where here was this girl who doesn't know anything about the church or the gospel, the pioneers, doesn't know anything. And so just the importance of religion, though. So I am a pioneer. My grandma was a daughter of a pioneer, but also at the same time, I'm my own pioneer too. Don't forget that. I'm a convert.
I never forget that.
Thanks, honey.
I'm really grateful for the missionaries that found you.
They're the best missionaries ever.
What about me? I was a missionary.
These missionaries were the best ever. So,
right.
That's how
I tried hard, guys.
I'm sure you were great. You just weren't the best ever. That's all.
But which camp you find yourself in, there's honor in being a child of those pioneers. Whenever we have Pioneer Day, there's also stories of not only Salt Lake celebrating pioneers, but other areas as well. And I've heard some snide comments before, like, why are Japan saints celebrating Pioneer Day? None of them are pioneers. I just thought, shame on you.
Yeah.
They are the beneficiaries of that great sacrifice, and they're grateful for it. They said because these saints sacrificed and worked so hard to find a new place where they can live, it enabled missionaries to go out and the church to grow and for them to find the gospel someday. And they might not be children of the pioneers, and the pioneers didn't found Japan, but their faith is a direct result of the sacrifice of those pioneers. And so even if you're a convert to the church, take pride in that pioneer ancestry that's yours. And
President Hinckley is absolutely aware of that. Even all these years ago, he was the area person over Asia, and so he was able to see the amazing growth that happened in all different parts all over the place. And it was humbling, and he loved it. He loves those people, and they loved him so very, very dearly. And so he saw that these people are pioneers of their own pioneers, and they should be celebrating their heritage as well as the church heritage, because they're adopted in,
Yeah. Any other thoughts you have from the lesson, honey?
I did. Some other thoughts I wanted to share real quick. Was he talked about having the end goal, and the saints, what they wanted was Zion. They wanted a place to be safe and protected and to have temple covenants and be able to live in peace. And that's what they wanted was Zion. And they sang about it and they looked forward to it. And so it talks about, what is something that we're looking towards, and so I've talked to my children before, and I told them my goal, this is, our goal, is a forever family. That is the goal. And as we keep our eyes on the goal, it makes other things easier. We tell our children, this is why we have family dinners and family scripture study and family prayers and family home evening. This is why we keep the Sabbath day holy and we follow the prophet and we do all these other things because we want to be an eternal family. We want to have the day someday when all of our children are with us in the temple. That's what we're working towards. And so I think when you begin with the end in mind, when you see that, okay, what I want is an eternal family, which I think is something that we all want. That's our goal there, whatever situation we are married-wise, to be part of that eternal family, all of us, that it helps you to prioritize and helps you to focus on things that are most important. And so I love that part of the lesson, how it just talks about knowing what our goal was. And I love his invitation that he encourages us to take the great opportunity to build up this superstructure. He said they laid the foundation. It's our job now to keep building the church and to keep going forward. Whether our own families, we continue our generations, and hopefully they'll be stronger and nurtured and such, or as we also do missionary work and work with our neighbors and communities and help the church worldwide grow and become stronger.
Yeah, and I think just in closing, I love the final paragraph, which is a great invitation. He says that with so great an inheritance, we must go forward. We must never let down. We must hold our heads high. We must walk with integrity. We must do what is right and let the consequence follow. And so, for those of you that are in classes and quorums and you feel like maybe there's just some more that can be done, take the lead. Whether you are the president or just the person who attends, take the lead and say, what can I do to be a pioneer in my ward? What can I do in my congregation, my class, my quorum, to help bring other people, to help go to the rescue of those who feel like they don't belong, for those who feel on the fringes, and help build Zion where you live now. And I think that this is going to be a great lesson for you guys on Sunday, but taking the time to review it, I think will really help you to get more out of it. So, one of the things that, that I would love is if you guys are enjoying these lessons, if you listen to this, don't keep it to yourself. I would love it if you guys would, as we share this post on Facebook or Twitter or Google Plus, if you are ever there, share it. Let other people know what this is so that they can also help contribute to your class discussions, so they can have some ideas. If you share something that we talk about, no one else in the class that hears the podcast is going to go, they got that from the podcast. Mm-hmm. Although that did happen to me once, where I shared a comment that I shared on the podcast, and someone said, hey, you already shared that on the podcast in class. And that was good awkward. To call them out. Call them out. That was awkward. Yeah. But no one else will do that to you in class. They'll just say, hey, I have an idea too, and build on it.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of the podcast, is whether you're like me, who's in primary and you can't hear the lessons, or you just want to be prepared spiritually to be able to go into class and to be able to maybe be inspired to say something or have a prompting because you thought about it before of, what, you're right. I think I need to call out to sister so-and-so. I think she can use some fellowshipping, or she can use some help, or she can use, a visit, or whatever it is, Yeah.
Well, honey, what do you have going on in your blog this week?
Blog, I have a lot of Valentine's things right now, a lot of delicious food. And I was thinking it'd be fun to share in the comments. I have some Cub Scout free printables. I don't know if anyone is in the Cub Scout program, but I have some different things that little printables say, welcome to the pack, or that we're going to miss you very much. Just let the boys know with their love language, food, that you're thinking about them and that you love having in Scouts, because Scouts is amazing.
Yeah, and it's not miss you very much. You didn't miss here. It's miss you very much.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we miss you very much with the little bear, because there's a bear Scout.
Yes.
Those are the 9-year-olds.
So they're really fun printables. So, if you have a pack meeting coming up where you have some Scouts that are leaving your wolf den or your bear den, there's some things that you can create to either make them feel welcome or let them know that you're going to miss them.
Not even create. You just print them off and put a little thing on there and you give it to them. It's
That's
so
true.
easy.
It's super easy.
Yeah, it is.
You just print it and cut it.
Yeah, it's a fun idea.
And over on This Mormon Life, that's this-mormon-life.com. I just did a review for the Lego movie. We've been doing our video movie reviews, and I took my kids to go see it last Saturday.
They were so excited.
We had a great time.
Yeah.
Christy had her Valentine's Day party and said, yes, you have to leave take the kids. Go.
Yes, please.
So
please leave.
we went to breakfast and went to the movies. So it was a great day for everybody.
Yeah, it's win-win-win.
Yeah.
And they came home and had leftovers.
That's true. Yeah, there was all kinds of great leftovers. So I'll put links to those in the show notes. Also, I'll throw your Valentine's Day party on there.
Always good time to have time with ladies.
Yep. So you can see kind of what that is if you're not quite sure. If you are uninitiated with the Parks and Rec television program, you'll get to see what that is, and then get to know if Lego Movie is good for you and the kids. Anything else for you to depart, honey?
I think that sounds great. I'm super excited to keep studying more about President Hinckley. He's pretty much my favorite. And you need to read that book still. It's the best. I
do. Well, I'm going to sign up. I'm getting ready to do Deseret Book has a new program that's coming out. It's super secret, but they're going to have basically a premium service where you can get like hundreds of audio books for like a monthly price. Yeah. Yes. And so I'm going to get that, and I'm sure it's on there. So maybe I'll listen to it there. I want to listen to that.
So good.
And I want to listen to a bunch of John By the Way stuff because I love his stuff so much.
Yeah, everyone loves him.
John By the Way should be on the podcast. If you guys know John By the Way, tell him he should come see me because I would really like to have him on the podcast because I think he's fantastic at what he does. But like I said, share it. You know, we switched our feed this year over to a new feed, and so our listenership has gone down. And we know that what we do helps people. People keep telling us, "I like this. Keep doing it." So
it helps us too.
It helps me definitely, but that's selfish.
It is.
But if you like it and you think, hey, I think other people could benefit from hearing this, share it. Share the link to the podcast. Share the link to the episode. Just share the post that you see on Facebook if you see it. Sharing it. Let other people know what's going on. We really appreciate that, and we know that it'll help bless other people as well. So until next time, on behalf of Christy, my name is Grady, and we wish you all a fond adieu.